Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. Again, today I'm your co-host, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. Ellen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk a lot.
A
We're
lot.
going to talk, yes, we're going to start talking about how to prevent plant diseases.
Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
That's kind of a tough subject, isn't it? Okay, but
Interesting, but tough, yeah.
very interesting. Yes,
Hmm.
and last time around we talked about you know things that cause vegetable diseases. Okay,
Hmm.
and I'm going to list them very briefly again, just kind of as a reminder. Okay, funguses, of course. Okay, which are really kind of transmitted by the air in soil. Bacteria, air, soil transmission primarily. Viruses, soil and transmitted by insects.
Hmm.
Nematodes, which are small microscopic worms, they're in the soil, and your soil can get infected with them. And there's some other causes that actually mimic diseases,
Right.
and those are
Hmm.
the herbicides. And this is more and more of an issue, and that can happen when you get some spray drift. Okay, if somebody's say spraying the lawn or whatever, and also it can happen if you're saving organic material. You're collecting your grass clippings and putting them in your compost pile. If the lawn had been sprayed recently, okay, those things break down slowly, okay, and they can actually be transferred to the vegetable garden. Then there's some cultural practices and conditions that kind of can mimic diseases also, and that includes over and under either watering or fertilization. So we got to kind of keep those things in mind.
Hmm.
And we pointed out that the best approach to plant diseases management is keeping
Hmm.
your plants healthy. Now, and in preparation for this session, okay, we found this really nice article on disease management in the home vegetable garden. It's from the University of Georgia Extension. And Ellen and I thought it would be kind of a really nice foundation piece for this particular topic. And I'd like to start, by reading the last two sentences, which are a summary. Believe it or not, they summarized this article in two sentences, you know, which was at the end of that particular article. And those two sentences go like this, and I'm gonna quote: Healthy plants are the best prevention against plant diseases. Use proper cultural practices to promote and maintain healthy plants, which do not get diseases as readily as weak plants.
Hmm.
Boy,
Hmm.
that kind of really sums it
Sums
up.
it up pretty good,
Yeah,
doesn't
it
it?
really does. So now
Yeah.
we're going to think about what are those cultural practices, and
Hmm.
Ellen's going to kind of lead us into that. So how about we get started here, Ellen, please?
Okay. Well, first of all, we've talked about this before, your site selection. Do you have enough sun? Is it well drained? And also, is it ventilated so that the air can move through? And those are all important for growing healthy plants. The next thing we haven't talked about too much is crop rotation. Um, Continuing to plant the same vegetable family on the same site really provides an opportunity for that disease or pathogen to build up in that soil. Now, in your small vegetable home garden, it's not an easy thing to accomplish, but you should try to do that the best you can. And when you're doing that, like we do at Emmaus, we keep a record of what we plant in each raised bed. So that helps us the following year to rotate some of those crops.
You mean, Ellen, you can't remember from year to year?
I can remember some things.
Yeah,
I
don't.
know one, two, three, and four beds are tomatoes this year.
Yeah,
Ah,
don't rely upon your memory because it's not going to work.
right,
Okay.
right. Um, Make sure that you plant disease-free seeds and transplants. Many plant diseases can be seed-borne, especially if you happen to save seeds. So be careful if you and your friends save seeds. And this is especially true for funguses and bacteria. Now, some seeds are pre-treated, but this only protects the seeds during germination. So also be careful when you buy transplants. Remember, we talked about this. If you go to
Oh
the
yeah,
nursery, check the roots, check the stems, make sure they're healthy and insect free.
absolutely.
Yes. Another good thing is, and Mike, you've brought this up to me, and I learned this, disease-resistant varieties. Every year there's even more disease-resistant varieties available, but this doesn't provide total immunity. And most of your resistant varieties are hybrids, not heirlooms. So open pollinated or heirloom varieties are generally not labeled as disease resistant.
Yeah, and there's a reason they're not labeled because they're not. Okay,
They're not,
yeah,
right?
you're
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
mean, as the article says,
They're a mixture.
and what you just told us, those disease-resistant varieties are really hybrids. They've taken that disease resistance and they've built it into, the next generation of plants, if you will.
Right. And we've talked about this. Pay attention to the directions on the package. They give you a good planting date. So follow that. And planting too early will expose your seedlings to diseases because they're just there and they're not strong enough to fight off any of those diseases. But planting late can affect the germination of your seeds and also weaken those plants. So pay attention to the directions on your package. This is a big one, proper spacing and trellising. Trellising we like to call planting vertically. This enhances the drying of your leaves and it can reduce the occurrence of foliar diseases that would affect your leaves that are wet or moist, especially fungal and bacteria diseases on your tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, and peas. And
Yeah.
when we plant those, we do it all vertically.
Yeah. Ellen, and I'm going to stop you right here because we're
Okay,
kind
all
of
right.
used up our time for this particular session, and we're going to pick
Okay.
up on this topic right where we left off next time around. So thank you for listening today, and I hope you're with us next time. Thank you now.